Welcome to Access Sportsnet Lakers. I'm Chris McGee alongside Mike Bresnahan and Mike Trudell. Gentlemen, welcome. Big three.
Yeah.
Put myself in there. Playoff week. I know you're all excited about it.
Brez, I'm excited about the playoffs about to start. There remains this kind of level of uncertainty, right?
Yeah.
But I think what I've been impressed with is J.J. Redick and his staff to kind of, hey, look, this is the group that it is right now. And they do have confidence that they can find a way to get it done. So it's up to everyone else, I think, to then not just go straight to Luka and Austin like I did to start the show.
And by the way, if the play-in games are any indication of what the NBA playoffs are going to be like, we are in for a good couple of months.
I'll tell you what, it's also kind of nice, to have fun and watch the play-in games as a fan.
No stress.
As opposed to those years when the Lakers were in them back-to-back, maybe even back-to-back seasons. Don't have to worry about that anymore.
They're so much more enjoyable. And by the way, the Warriors.
Yeah, Steph and Draymond last night, huh?
Beat the Clippers last night.
Yeah, how about
Draymond
that?
just locking up Kawhi.
Really did.
Fourth, wow.
Yeah, Steph reaching into his bag of magic.
Very impressive.
Yeah.
Still hasn't scored.
Tough season for the Clippers. All right, a look at the series schedule, which tips off on Saturday at Crypto 5:30 on ABC. Then you got a couple of days off. Tuesday, it's a 7:30 game on NBC. And then Game 3, the 24th. Game 4, the 26th. Remember, those will be in Houston. And after that, it is all TBD. So I want to start with just Game 1 Saturday, guys. And we're going to get to your top storylines later in the show. But big picture here for me, a week to prepare. How important is Game 1 at home? And you can throw Game 2 in there as well. It's really the first time we're going to see this team without Luka and AR against an opponent like the Houston Rockets, and of course, the magnitude of the playoffs. What are you kind of hoping to see from this team, Brez?
Well, if you're the Lakers, if you win Game 1, you kind of set the tone like, okay, this can happen. This can indeed happen. And right now, the Lakers are not favored to win that game, Mike. Right around 5.5-point underdogs. The odds makers thinking Houston's going to win this series. So you kind of need to have an us versus the world mindset. And when you have a healthy Luka and Austin, you don't really have to think that way. Obviously, when you have almost 60 points on the bench spectating, then you've got to have that mantra, Mike. And right now, I think if you win Game 1, it really does show this is not going to be a walkover for the Houston Rockets. You set that tone right away in front of your home fans, too.
Yeah, I mean, the way that I think about this is if I had one of the best girls volleyball teams in the country and my coach was Geeter and our best two players got hurt, but I still had a third stud, even if we were the underdog, I'd think I got Geeter here. He's going to put us in the right places here. And so I'm putting J.J. Redick into your spot. And LeBron James, to me, it just goes like I can't completely go to whatever the Vegas line is or whatever like Houston's expectations might be because of how experienced LeBron is in these moments. And then specifically for games 1 and 2, I almost think that you have to look at this if you're the Lakers like more like it's Game 5 or Game 7 at home, which are desperation mode wins because you have to elongate this series to give Luka Doncic, to give Austin Reeves a chance to get back. And it's very difficult to sort of go two routes with that. To, on the one hand, hey guys, this is the team we have, go out and win. But on the other, if you lose these 2 games, maybe you don't even get a chance to come back in Game 5. And then that doesn't give you a chance to go further into the playoffs if you don't get your injured guys back. So a lot of stuff going on. I think that having a coach like you, a coach like J.J. Redick for clarity.
Thank you for putting me in the same
very helpful
conversation with J.J.
Well, I mean,
Redick.
you've got 17 national titles.
Yeah, he doesn't have those, but he is an NBA coach. And we believe in J.J. And by the way, I kind of want to piggyback off what you talked about a moment ago. Listen, is there hope that maybe you can get Luka and AR back? Yes, but as JJ said on Tuesday to the media, listen, they're out indefinitely because this is an all-hands-on-deck series, and we have to move forward with the group that we have, right, Brez? So if you look at it like that, I mean, there's really nothing to lose here for the Lakers. They are huge underdogs in everyone's mind, but these guys believe they can do it, and that's what matters.
Yeah, and I like the way they ended the season, too. They had that weird 3-game losing streak a couple weeks ago, and it's like, they're definitely trying to figure things out with no Luka and no AR. Can't blame them for that, Mike. But I like the way they finished that last week of the regular season. And I thought there were some nice step-ups I thought Luke Kennard looked good.
Yep.
I thought Jackson Hayes and Ayton kind of took turns manning the center position with pretty good talent and ability. And you start to see, Rui obviously had a couple good games there as well in that last week. You start to see ways that they can get around the underdog status. And you just got to keep that momentum going, Geet.
It's a little tough to read into those 3 games, too, because I'm with you, Brez. Like, on the one hand, you want to flip the feeling, just the ill feeling that came out of the injuries that happened at OKC. And then on the flip side, Golden State was very shorthanded in that game. We know that Utah didn't put a competitive roster out there. But Phoenix did, and it was a back-to-back. And in that game, I think we saw enough to make you think, all right, this Laker team here right now, you have to forget about Doncic and Reeves right now. They are still a good competitive team. Now, is their ceiling anywhere near what it was when they're fully healthy? Not at all. But can that team play with Houston? And the answer to me is yes. Like, Houston won a lot of games down the stretch, but they didn't beat a lot of good teams. They have a high floor and, to me, a lower ceiling than, say, an OKC, a San Antonio, even a Denver, and even a Minnesota, frankly. So towards that end, this is not a juggernaut Houston team. It's a very good Houston team. You have to play very well to beat them, but they can be beaten by this Lakers team even without getting their guys back, at least in the short term. So that's the way that I would put it, Geeter. Like, they do have a chance to win these games.
All right, guys, let's take a look at the postseason playoff bracket starting in the East. The #1 overall seed, Detroit Pistons, still awaiting their opponent. Will it be Charlotte or will it be Orlando? I think NBA fans want to see Charlotte because that would be a really fun series. 4-5, Cleveland and Toronto. There's a team in Cleveland that has a lot to prove. New York Knicks and Atlanta, upset alert. Atlanta, one of the hottest teams in the league. That should be a really fun series. And then, of course, the rivals, Boston Celtics in the 2 seed, taking on the Sixers in 7. Now we take a look at the Western Conference.
Here we go.
The Oklahoma City Thunder will play the winners of Golden State versus Phoenix.
The winner of that
tomorrow night.
Sixers,
Golden State with that big comeback
game
in the 4th quarter at Intuit Dome to take down the Clippers and end their season. Lakers and Rockets in the 4 and 5. Denver and Minnesota in the 3-6. Spurs and the Blazers. How about the young Blazers? They were in that 9-10 spot for almost the entire back half of the year. A late surge, beating the Clippers at the end of the season, winning that tiebreak, and then beating Phoenix in a thriller on the road. They play the San Antonio Spurs. So there's your playoff bracket broken down for you. And Mike Trudell, I'm going to start with you because before we dive deeper into the playoffs in this series, as a person who watched and covered all 82 games for the Lakers, and Brez and I did this the other day on our show, 53 wins. Some amazing moments, battling injuries literally from day #1 on. Pretty impressive. From your standpoint, have you had a chance to kind of just think back to what a great year that was?
Extremely impressive, Geeter. I think that, the 3 of us sat on this desk before the season, and we did the thing where we try to pick where everyone's going to land in the standings and all that. And when you're doing that, you always assume a certain level of health. And if the 3 of us had had the same conversation, Brez, you told me, well, LeBron, Luka, and Austin, not one of them is going to play 65 games.
Yeah, we're going to have 73 games missed between the 3 of them.
You know what Geeter and I would have said back to you, Brez? Plan at best. Right? Just that's how good the West is. That's how deep things are. And so give credit to the staff with J.J. Redick and his crew. Give credit to the role players. And give credit to the stars when available, finding out exactly or doing exactly what they needed to get wins. So I think that it's a super impressive season. And it's always difficult to square that with what the Lakers franchise expectations are, because the franchise is always going to be wanting to go championship. That's the standard. Yeah. And here, though, I still think they're kind of building towards this, what they hope is a long future around Luka Doncic, around Austin Reeves, and then we'll see what happens with LeBron. But the regular season itself, Geeter, an outright success.
If I'm a Laker fan, I want 2 things. I want my team to win, and I want to be entertained as well. And I thought the Lakers, this team in particular, did both those things. I mean, they were fun to watch, period. And so many great games down the stretch. They were so good in crunch time. I know, Mike, you recited that stat quite a bit in your pre- and post-game stuff. And they were incredible in the last 5 minutes. The differentiation in close games was almost reliable. It was like, okay, they're going to win this game. It's close, but they're going to be okay. I thought Luka and AR were a fun backcourt. LeBron, happily taking that third role, that third string role, so to speak. He was the 1C, I guess you could say. It was just a fun team to watch. And hopefully these guys, if the Lakers get to the next round, hopefully these two guys come back and they can kind of resume the fun vibes that this franchise was feeling for the last 6-7 months.
And let's talk a little bit about JJ. Back-to-back 50-win seasons, first time as a coach. And I liked what he said this week, too, about like, hey, I've learned a lot from last year and how we prepared for that week leading up to the Minnesota series. And we're going to be better. That's what I love about JJ. There's always accountability. There's always forward thinking. And just being in that, facility yesterday and you were there, you got a sense that everyone felt that.
Well, so you guys can relate to this, but one of the big parts of the job covering a team is to just listen to the head coach talk every day. Every day. Right? It's at practice, it's after shoot around, it's before the game, it's after the game. So when you are covering on a daily basis, like you get to know which are the best ones. And Brez, I know you still get a chance to hang out with Phil Jackson once in a while. That's can't get better than that, right? So that's a standard. And then I won't name names, but there are some where they come in the room and you're like, all right, I'm not sure if that's going to work with the players. JJ Redick, to me, has been very impressive. He's got this combination of just understanding how to talk to players because he, of course, just was one, and he was a role player for a long time, so he knows how to do that. And then he's got the crazy preparation mindset. He's got the banshee thing, right? That just is it. You can see when you just watch him do the interview with me at halftime. Yeah. And he, even though he's gotten I think he's calmed some in that, but he's so intense, and that has to be something that a head coach has in the NBA.
I love those, by the way. It's pretty funny a lot of the times too between the two.
But he's on it. Like that's the point. And I think that's what you grew up a Laker fan, right? Like that's what Laker fans want. I think more than anything else, just 100%. Somebody that just really, really cares about every single day, practice games, and so he's brought that combined with his playing experience and just his personality. He's done a great job,
guys. You're off to a great start. Saturday, the Lakers play host to the Houston Rockets in the first round of the playoffs. The game can be seen on ABC, but we'll have pre- and post-game coverage starting at 4:30 right here on Spectrum Sportsnet, and we'll have complete post-game coverage after the game. Conference Player of the Week for his performance down the final stretch of the regular season, where he scored 24 points per game, shot 50% from three, 56 from the field, also added 10 assists and 6 rebounds. 70th.
It's including sitting the second half of the Utah game, by the way.
Good point. So 70th.
More like 29, like
Player
8
of the Week,
and 9.
Most in NBA history. Here's LeBron on the difference between the regular season and the postseason for him.
Nothing changes for me from the regular season to the postseason besides just even more heightened focus. But as far as my preparation, it doesn't change. The only thing that changes in the postseason, as far as you just know that you're going to be playing the same team at least 4 times. So you got to key in on that and understand Tennessee's even more and more thorough. It's not like the regular season where you could play a different team in 5 nights. You play a game 4 and 5 nights and play a different team every single other night. So you have to throw away the pregame stuff that you talked about, the in-game adjustments, and you have to quickly get to the next team the next day. This is not that. So
what do you have to look out for?
You mean
going up against KD?
KD's I think the last time he was in Houston, I told you how great he's been since he picked up basketball. So that's one part of it. Obviously, we know that's the head of the snake, but it's the Houston Rockets, and they have some damn good players on their team. So it's not just a KD team. It's the whole group. Obviously, like I said, KD is going to do what KD does. He's a Hall of Famer. We know that. So we have to prepare not only for him but for the whole group.
Against Houston, one of the best rebounding teams in the league. What is that message to your teammates about the needed physicality for a postseason game against a team that's known to be physical like they are?
My message?
Yeah, to your teammates about physicality.
I don't have a message. The best rebounding team in the last 25 years. What do you mean?
Just when it comes to...
You don't need to have a message. It's like going against a Mahomes team and they're the best passing team in the last 30 years. The message don't need, hey, we don't need to let the receivers get off the line. We need to jam. What's the message? The message is get your ass in there, box out and rebound. You have a message. We all grown, man. Do your job.
Brez, I'm going to start with you since you've just been patiently waiting on the end of that last segment. LeBron's coming off a huge final week, and you heard him talk about the difference between playoffs and regular season. For him, the way he prepares, there is no difference. The difference comes between, yes, this is the playoffs, and you're playing a team at least 4 times, and you know what you're in for. How big is the week off for LeBron, and then having a couple of days between the first couple of games until that gets to the second week of the series and it starts to get a little tighter?
Hey, it's great. I mean, I just mentioned a few minutes ago, kind of the not so fun part of being in the play-in tournament with some of those AD and LeBron teams. It's like, they were never like on the cusp of being eliminated, but you just got to flex that week where you should be off, relaxing a little bit, taking a day or two off, and get back in the film room, then get back on the court. Now, as you said, Geet, it's time to do your damn job, and that's what this is all about. And some of the guys on the Lakers are going to have to do more than they have been expected to do over the course of the season. That's just the way it is. Dare I say next man up, which is the cliche that I try to avoid, Mike. But yeah, dude, just do your damn job. That's what it comes down to.
And you know what, Mike? Like, the one thing I always loved about the Olympics in Paris, that format was built for LeBron James, and it had that playoff type of format, right, where you get a couple of days between games sometimes, and even more, and so it's you can rest, you can focus on one thing, that task in front of you, which bodes well for LeBron.
It does. So I was watching the play-in games, as I know you guys were, and just looking at all the guys that had never been in a playoff game, and technically the play-in isn't right there, but you could just see how some guys were almost broken by that moment. LeBron has played 292 playoff games. All right, that is number one by a lot. Our guy Derek Fisher is second at 259.
Ooh, wow.
There's only 8 other guys over 200. Okay, so it's just like, for context, Zach LaVine has played 4 career playoff games, all right, like an NBA bet. So it's the way that LeBron says, I don't really change my mindset. Like, I mean, that's just because it's so normal for him to be in high-stakes games, and he's done it so many times. I think that gives the Lakers a big edge just from a mental standpoint. So the guys that maybe haven't done it before, they look out there and they see LeBron James, who, playoffs, it's nothing to him. Like, he doesn't even start to get a sweat until you get closer to the finals. But all of that, to me, is just this experience that the coaching staff can tap into, that his teammates can tap into. And it's one of the reasons why I'm not just counting them out of a series where they don't have 2 of their top 3 players.
So, by the way, if you want to add those numbers that Mike just threw in, he's really on season 27. Okay, because that's how many playoff games
3.5 years
played.
almost.
So,
Crazy.
Brez, listen, I've said this on air and off air. Like, there was a little sadness. There was some depression, of course, when the Luka and AR news hit. And I think that took a lot of us a few days to get through, even the team. And now you're on the other side of it, and you're like, okay, let's move forward. But, man, the basketball gods, come on, like, why the Lakers? But one thing they couldn't take from you, and that they didn't take from you, is KD versus LeBron. And, Brez, I don't know if it's the last time. Who knows?
Yeah.
Nobody does. But we had not seen it since 2018. Remember all those epic battles with the Warriors and the Cavs, OKC and the Heat. And here you are, 2 of the all-time greats battling it out.
Yeah, I feel like we didn't get enough LeBron and Steph this year, right? So it's good to get a little
Zero
times, which is crazy. So we had 0 with KD and LeBron for a bunch of years, and then now they got to play each other every time.
Yeah,
so.
I know. Now they, like it or not, here they are. And I talked about this a lot 10 years ago. One of my last playoff series.
LeBron is the main thing, though. He is still the orchestrator. He is the engine. He is the one that is thinking the game, breaking it down. He's leading, right? And so KD, I think, going on to the Warriors, or in the way that Kawhi did to the Raptors, that's one class of player. And then LeBron, your Kobe's, your Jordans, your Shaqs, the guys that kind of had to really bring the whole group along. Jokic, most currently. I think Luka, eventually, when he gets there to a title. That's a slightly different class of player, but both all-time legends and amazing. It'll be fun to watch them.
All right, guys, here are a few of LeBron's top hits on this season. You remember December, Access Sportsnet, Lakers' DeAndre Ayton will play a huge part in the postseason for the purple and gold, and the Lakers will need his efficiency. The big man shot impressive 67% from the field this season. That's second highest mark in franchise history, behind Wilt the Stilt. Game set for Saturday at 5:30. Let's get into your keys to the series, your top storylines and keys. Brez, you're up first. What is your number 1?
Geet, I know you get up at 6 a.m. every day to work on these shows, but when I woke up today at around 10, I said, I don't want to think too hard. I just want to go right into, can the series be extended long enough for Luka and or Austin Reeves to come back and make an impact? I mean, obviously, that's, sorry if I stole that from you, True. But I just want to be pretty obvious and blatant, and not really overthink it too much. And that's the deal. Can the guys who looked good the last week or so of the regular season, can they steal a couple games? Maybe make it a 2-2? And then it's like, well, is Luka coming back anytime soon? You know, we just don't know. J.J. Redick's been very open about saying, hey, they're both out indefinitely, and you don't want to get too cute and try to put a doctor's hat on and saying, yeah, he could be back in Game 5 or 6. You know, I'm not going to do that. But can the guys at least make it interesting? And then you start saying, well, when can the two heavy hitters, when do they do back? And can one of them at least come back towards the end of the series?
You hear that? 10 a.m. We've been up for hours by the time Mike Bresnan gets up. All right, Mike Trudell, battle the boards. JJ talked about this at practice yesterday.
Yeah, I think the glass is clearly the one area that every NBA team has emphasized against Houston all season. It's pretty obvious. And yes, it was even to a greater extent before they lost Steven Adams. But since then, they've still been the NBA's best rebounding team. Now, to be the best rebounding team, they sacrifice in some other areas, right? Like they play bigger than some teams, so their shooting and their spacing isn't as strong. They really don't play any smaller guards except for Reed Shepherd and the guys that start the game. Like recently it's been Okogie, but on top of Şengün and Amin Thompson, who's just a nuclear athlete. And to me, the challenge is, okay, everybody says that's the key. I don't care what game it was all season. Every head coach in the NBA knows that's the key, the thing, but they still led the league in rebounding. So you can say it all you want. You're just not as big or as athletic as they are. But if the point of emphasis that the Lakers have had building up to this, maybe it's enough to at least keep them from not pummeling you on the glass, and then that allows the other skill set areas that they are lacking in to be pushed even further.
All right, Brez, number 2, you know, I actually believe the Laker defense is going to come to play, but your number 2 is one of my concerns. Can the Lakers crack Houston's defense? Can they score enough points, Brez?
Yeah, I mean, this team was tied for 5th in defensive rating in the regular season. As you pointed out, Mike, there's a lot of athletic, long guys on this team, and they're not afraid to try to shut you down. They did a lot of things really well. You know, as you can see here, when the teams played, the Rockets were really good at rebounding, really good at second chance points. I'm going to go outside the season series as well and say this team was just really good at the basics. They make you uncomfortable shooting threes. They make it very hard.
Line. Can the Lakers have success in half court?
Yeah, so once the
Gotta take care of
defense,
basketball.
once the Houston defense is set, right, that's especially when they're effective. We know the Lakers can be great in transition. We know LeBron led the league in fast break points this season. We know they're so good at those hit-ahead passes and seals at the rim. But in the half court, of course, Luka Doncic is the first person you relied upon this year. Austin Reeves is the second. So you're down to your third option to initiate. Now, I will say this is where Luke Kennard comes into play, because I don't know that anybody other than J.J. Redick was expecting him to be able to carry elite half-court creation, and that's what he did. 28 assists, 4 turnovers in the 3 games right after both guys got hurt. And then you added Marcus Smart in the second to last game, right? He missed the Warriors game. So you get 2 ball handlers that you essentially didn't have on the basketball during that March 15-2 run. And to me, that's going to make the difference as to whether they can break the defense down in the half court. Good signs from Kennard, good signs from Smart. We know LeBron can do it, but how effective and how efficient can they be? That's going to be a major key.
Great 4 keys, guys. You guys hit it right there on top. All right, from the top storylines to the series, the news of the day in Lakerland. The NBA and NBPA ruled in favor of Luke on his extraordinary circumstances and challenges. He shared this on social media. I am grateful to the NBPA for advocating on my behalf and to the NBA for their fair decision. It was so important to me to be present for the birth of my daughter in December, and I appreciate Mark, Jeannie, Rob, JJ, and the entire Laker organization for fully supporting me and allowing me to travel to be there this season. This season has been so special to me because of what my teammates and I have been able to accomplish, and I'm honored to have the opportunity to be considered for the league's end of season awards. And Perez, I got to be honest, I'm excited about it too. I'm happy that that's where the ruling went. I think I'd have been really disappointed if it didn't, because Luka deserves first team All-NBA, and that's what's coming.
Yeah, you know, there are times where the NBA has to swing the hammer. You know, sorry if you get your 16th tech. You know, you have to sit out a game. And, you know, if you flagrant foul someone and they're injured, kind of like what they're looking at, you know, LaMelo Ball with his craziness the other night in the Miami play-in game. You know, sometimes the NBA's got to be the heavy. And here, you know, I like seeing the lighter, friendly, accommodating side of the NBA front office. And they said, you know what? This appeal works for us. We're cool. We're going to scratch off those 2 games, and you can have them back. And you know, they would have come up kind of heartless, Mike, if they had said, nope, it is what it is. This is the rule. And the rule itself is up for major debate. I kind of like it. I don't know if 65 is the number it should be. Maybe a little bit lower, 62, something like that, maybe even 60. But, you know, I like the NBA here not being the heavy.
Yeah, I like the rule generally speaking. I think if you lowered it down, then there would be certain teams and certain players that just targeted that lower number to get to. We even saw Jokic and Wembanyama essentially get it to the point where they just got to 65. In this case, I think Luka would have, of course, if he didn't get hurt, he would have been well over that, and he would have been even higher in MVP consideration than he might be right now. I think the lowest that he could finish reasonably is 4th. Some people might have him even higher than that, but he's definitely All-NBA first team, and that's nothing to scoff at. Like, All-NBA first team is one of the first things that I look at when comparing careers of players. And spoiler alert, the best players have the most, right? And so, if you miss a year, like, that could be that's just one of those arguments when you're going back and say, hey, wait, how many years was Kobe on the first team? Wow, how many years was LeBron on the first team? Jordan, like, that's what it is. And so I'm glad that his season is going to be able to be recognized. And I can't imagine that he will be left off unless voters just completely sort of forgot that this ruling happened and, you know, went for somebody else. And by the way, Cade probably sneaks in for that 5th spot.
Yeah, that's what I was
along those lines
thinking
too. So, and we know the 3 that are going to be there with Jokic and Wemby and Shea.
All right, guys, we're headed to break, but first, our Lake Show throwback of the day. It's D. Fish sending a postseason message to the Houston Rockets. Back to Access. Time for a round of fill in the blank. And Brez, I'm going to start with you every single time. Season grade for the Lakers is blank.
You know, it's got to be an A-. If you go back and look at some of the preseason predictions, especially from the national publications, they had the Lakers nowhere near 4 in the West. And let's face it, had everyone stayed healthy, they would have been probably 3 in the West. Far above where everyone had them in the play-in tournament, you know, maybe sneaking in at 6 in the West. It's got to be an A-. You know, 4th isn't quite as sexy as 3rd. Obviously, it's because of the late season injuries, but that's why I gave it an A- instead of an A. Still got to be thrilled with what happened this season, Mike.
Well, season grade for the Lakers is blank, Mike Trudell.
Well, you know, I know that Brez has been grading papers. He's been grading papers at Pepperdine. In this case, I agree. Brez is correct.
Wow.
A- for the Lakers. And, like, so I thought the Lakers would be 4th, but I thought that it was going to be a higher threshold of those other teams in the area. I thought Minnesota was going to be a little better than they were, and I thought they might actually finish 3rd. But the Lakers, to get to 53 wins, I would have been closer to 51, I think, probably. And that was assuming more health than they had, so A-.
Your favorite moment of the season was blank, Brez.
I mean, it's got to be when they beat the Nuggets in overtime. I mean, the Austin Reeves missed free throw is one of the most incredible plays I've ever seen in 22 years around this team. I still can't believe it happened. And then, of course, then he had to make the shot after grabbing the purposely missed free throw, and then Luka had to win it in OT. So, Mike, you know, we'll see if great minds think alike on this one, but that win was just so exciting. And it was kind of early in March, too, when they were starting to put that little string of wins together, Geet.
All right. What do you got?
That's correct. I just pulled it up on my phone because my kids were at that game. You saw with Riggs freaking out.
They were going crazy.
And then the shot goes in, so Luke gets the shot. After
that's Riggs right there.
That's Riggs and the Twins. So that's after Austin Reeves' play, which was one of the most ridiculous plays that you'll ever see to be able to execute and finish the shot. So that was awesome. That's objectively the moment. Like, we could have gone to a couple others. We mentioned Houston, the Luka setback after the alley-oop with, like, the Austin Reeves buzzer beater at Minnesota early in the season was a great moment without Luka, without LeBron James. But Brez is right. That's the moment.
You're setting your kids up for so much success with the Lakers and Dodgers being fans for their whole lives. Just so happy with you and what you and Annie have done.
It's tough growing up in LA. Got the beach, the Lakers, the Dodgers.
LeBron's stat for the series. Blank will be LeBron's stat line for the series.
I went for a little symmetry here. 28 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists. You know, it's definitely a step up in points for him from the season by half dozen or so. But I think he's got to get there. You know, he's got to be that guy. Like, really, who is going to outscore him on the Lakers if the 2 big guys can't come back? No, it's going to be LeBron getting almost 30 a night. And the 8 assists, obviously, he's got to keep guys, the other guys involved and set them up for some bunnies, Geet. So I'm going to go 28, 8, and 8.
All right, what do you got, Mike Trudell?
Well, Brez was almost correct here, okay? It's actually 28, 9, and 8. All right?
You guys have been almost exact.
You got to give him.
We're so different on this one.
You got to give him at least one more assist, Brez. I don't know why you shorted him that. He's going to have his ball.
Yeah,
he's going to have the ball in his hands more. So, yeah, he almost got it, but he's close.
All right, we're going on to the next one. Lakers X factor for the series will be Brez.
I'm going to go DeAndre Ayton. You know, will it be the guy who played well in those 2 games against Houston recently, or the guy in the games earlier this month against OKC, he just didn't do much. He had 1 rebound in one of the games against OKC, and then he had 3 points and 3 rebounds in the other game against OKC. Granted, he didn't play his usual minutes. Bottom line, he's got to be the guy to really kind of try to neutralize a guy like Şengün. There's some really good bigs for Houston, even though they lost Steven Adams earlier in the year. And, of course, he'll be going up against his friend Clint Capella.
I love that you guys had someone different because there's so many X factors. Brez, love DeAndre Ayton, and I love yours as well. Give me yours.
Yeah, for
Lakers X factor.
For Ayton, I just think that he'll have a couple of really good games and a couple where he's not quite as involved. And so, in a sense, it's an X factor. I'm going to go with Luke Kennard, though, because what I want to know, can Luke Kennard, can the way that he played down the stretch, can that carry over against one of the better and more athletic defenses? Luke Kennard's going to get some Amen Thompson, if not a lot of Amen Thompson on him. Can he still use the threat of his shot to get the defense up on him close enough to then play out of 2-man action with LeBron, to play out of some 2-man actions with Marcus Smart? And if he can, then I think that raises the floor of where the Lakers can go in this series, how much they can elongate it to get something back. So if Luke Kennard can keep it up against this defense, Lakers got a chance here.
Perfect timer right now, guys. We've got a minute left here, a little more. Brez, other series you will have your eyes on. Well, be some good ones.
I hate to be stealing one from the Minnesota native, but I'll be watching Nuggets Timberwolves. I mean, I just like that matchup. The Nuggets slipped ahead of the Lakers for really the only reason being
they won 12 straight.
They won 12 straight, yeah. And the Lakers, had their injury issues. But I'm curious, Minnesota's had some really nice runs the last couple of years. I don't need to tell you that, Mike, the pride of the Twin Cities there. But still, what's going to happen in this? Good 3-6 matchup right away. I love it.
Yeah, I worry a little bit about Anthony in that one, but so I went with Spurs and Blazers in this case.
Oh, interesting. That's going to be a fun one.
More just because of the Spurs. They went from winning 25 games to winning 60 in 1 year.
Wild.
They are awesome. Wemby is awesome, and he just needs to now, and I think he will, just needs to show it now at the playoff level. All right, when one team, and the Blazers are a huge team, when they completely tilt their defense towards him, how does he respond? I think it's going to be a great watch, and that's the one I'm excited to see.
Guys, that's how you do a time segment right there. I mean, that was efficient. Just like the Lakers will be in the half-court offense. We're putting the finishing touches on this edition of Access after the break. Great producing. Good job, Brandon.